So, about a day ago, I got a message from Christian and PC, and they mentioned that they were trying to use some of the code that I had written, and it was failing to work properly in their project. And they're absolutely right. I have no idea what has happened, but one of the original bytes files that I did doesn't work right anymore. It looks like it's at the wrong orientation or something, so it magically stopped working properly. Yesterday or the day before, I created a 45-minute video, which was me going through all of the troubleshooting steps of trying to get something to work. And then as part of the output of that, I had a new live bytes file, which I've added to my Git repository. So I'm going to take those things and I'm going to put them together, and we've been talking about using these machine learning robots in animation. So I'm going to be putting all this together. I'm going to be taking the new bytes files that are going to be kind of a fix. Again, I'm not sure what has changed, that the bytes files are a little different, but I'm going to be taking that, which is kind of a fix, and then I'm going to be taking my existing project, and then we're going to be importing that into a new project. So the first thing I'm going to do, and you can see here, this is my Neon environment. You can find my Neon environment, part of the Neon Challenge. Actually, if you want to go and like my project, I would appreciate it. I have, I'm not going to go through a full scene walkthrough because I think there's some limitations on that, but this is as much that I've posted of the work in progress so that you can see that going on back here. So I'll put the link in the show notes if anybody feels so inclined to go like my project in the Neon Challenge. That'd be awesome. That said, let's take a look at getting this importing going. So the first thing that I want to do is move my Unity up where everybody can see it. So I'm running at my full 4K monitor right now. All right, and then I'm going to create a new script. So eventually the robot's going to go right in here. But I'm going to go ahead and load up a new scene just so that we are starting with kind of a basic baseline. Directional light, all the standard stuff. Now, I am going to do an import. And I'm going to import a package. So one of the things that has been discussed is how do you get these environments from one place to another, because doing it just in Git is a little tough. So there's some talk about taking these environments and putting them in the asset store. I think I'd be putting them up there for free. I'm not going to be charging for these unless I come up with something that I think is really advanced or something like that. But I'm trying to put an asset together just to really get a feel for what that's like. Again, so I'm going to import all this. This has all of the machine learning agent code in it, so this isn't really an ideal asset. I'd really want to break out the machine learning code from my code, and you'll still see in the examples here, there's this, the robot arm continuous, discrete, and 5DOF. And the reason why all three of them are there is because I reused code from some of the previous implementations, so that isn't as clean as it should be. So this was a good learning experience and, reminded me that I need to refactor some of these things. But I'm just going to import that anyway. So we're going to go ahead and import the code from the previous package, or from the previous project. And there's some other things that we have to do. Some of this is standard machine learning setup, which I had forgotten about. So it took me a while to find the proper settings again. So if we go to our build settings and then hit player settings, changing this over to experimental. So that's the first thing. It'll restart Unity. And hopefully all of the scripts from all the other stuff I've been doing will still work. There we go. Doesn't look like anything exploded. I'm not getting any giant errors of unhappiness. So the other thing that I'm going to do is go into my player settings and type in, oh wow, cross-platform input, Unity post-processing stack, v2. These are new, I wasn't expecting those. Enable TensorFlow. All right, I've enabled TensorFlow. So next I have my machine learning agents, and I have my examples, and I have my robot arm 5DOF, and I have a bunch of prefabs. So this is the standard environment that we are used to, right? And it does not have a brain. So the next thing I need to do, I thought I was going to be clever and prefab out the Academy. What happens though, when I prefab out the Academy, you have this 5DOF bot, right? And here's the brain parameters and internal, but it's missing a hunk down here. And this happens when you have deserialized and reserialized the brain. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the component, remove the component, add a new brain. Notice now that this section down here is back. So this took me a while to find that I just had to delete that brain and then create new brain. And now I'm going to hopefully paste component values. Nope, that was the wrong thing to do. All right. So I'm going to add another brain one. Yeah, I can do that. So at least this way I can do some side-by-side to make sure that I get my state size, action size, memory size, all of that down right. And this is continuous, continuous, internal, and then that's where the bytes file goes. Now, as I said, something happened and I really don't know what, and the previous bytes file that I had working, that worked for the VR one, did not work when I came back and tried it again. I don't know if something corrupted it, which seems odd, or if for some reason there was an issue where maybe some parameters got changed or orientation of something got changed, I don't know. But this Simple Robot 5DOF 20 Live, this is the one that I did yesterday as I was doing that like long 45-minute debug, troubleshooting session. All right, so I have my Academy, I have my brain with my Academy, and they're at 0, 0, 0. I have my arm, and I want to bring that to 0, 0, 0. I don't have to, but I just find it a little easier to find my way around if I have things properly set up. All right, so we now have a brain on here again, and so I go into my 5DOF arm, and it's looking for a brain. The agent needs to be hooked up to a brain, and boom, I hooked that up to a brain. What else do I need to do? I need to come back to my 5DOF arm. I'm going to change its speed down to 30. I am going to set the max step to 0 so it'll continuously going. And then the step skip randomization, 0, 20, 0. So these are all the things that I had to manually hand jam to get this to go. And I hope that's everything. Well, it doesn't look like that's everything because it's not doing a darn thing. Graph placeholders. I need a graph placeholder of 1, and that is epsilon, and that is floating point. So that's again down in this additional section that wasn't there when we just tried to reuse a prefab. And there we go. We are up and running, and it is working, and it is reaching its targets as it should. So I think it's moving a bit on the slow side. Right? That would seem fast if you're there and it's a field of view, but I think for the most part it's going to be too slow for my intended application. Again, it gets stuck every now and then. It's trying to get out of it. It's just not getting there. But if I move the target a little bit, there it goes. So the other thing that I want to do, and this can help with some of that too, is speed it up. And that'll change the cycles in which it gets stuck. And there we go. It seems to be doing just fine. So that's exactly what I want. Now, unfortunately, because I can't prefab these out, right? Because what happened when I prefabbed it out? It had this issue where this lower segment of the brain disappeared. So now I need to go back to my main scene. Quarry, scenes, main. Right. And now I need to find my area where I want this robot to go. And let's see here. So ML agents, examples, 5th prefabs. All right. And then what I can do is take this prefab and work with it from here, refine it to meet my needs for this particular animation. All right, I'm going to do things like, get rid of the score. Yeah, it'll break the prefab. Yep, go for it. All right. And then I'll hit play, and of course it won't do anything. It'll randomize its position, maybe. Yeah, it randomized its position, but it didn't really do anything. It's really dark back in here. I'm going to make that smaller and off to the side. All right. And then I will just jump up the intensity and range of this light so that we can see what's going on. All right. So then the next thing we want to do is, again, just like we did before, I'm going to put it in a slightly different place, though. I'm actually going to make it part of the robot, keep everything encapsulated. So we have the Academy, and the Academy has a brain. We're going to add another brain because this brain doesn't go. 11, whoops, not 22. 11, 5, 55. Action descriptions aren't important. Continuous, internal brain. Brain needs the bytes file from the live run because that's where it's oriented correctly. Graph placeholder 1. Floating point by the name of epsilon. And go. Fingers crossed. Not doing anything. Duh. Oh. Also need to associate the brain with the agent. Well, I'm closer. Now what did I forget? Academy, brain. Oh, you know what? I still have the old brain here. That's probably causing issues. Nope. 5 dot arm, right. 60, 60. Max step. 0. Brain. That brain. Yeah, so I had the 2 brains on there, so I was grabbing the wrong one when I created this association. And then again, let's get max of 20. And there we go. We now have our robot working inside of another Unity environment. Now, granted, this is clearly, this robot doesn't go here. That's not what this robot is for. You know, and with the targets and whatnot, it doesn't look right. I don't want to get too far into this. I don't want to show off too much of what I'm doing for this, because I think there's some question about how public you can make the challenge components before it's considered, you know, like you're making everything publicly shown, which I guess is against the rules. I'm not really sure where the distinction is on that, but certainly this component bringing it in shouldn't be that bad. We have some of the pieces parts, and then in time, when the challenge is over, we'll be able to show everybody what the heck this guy is doing in this scene. So there it is, importing it into another project and making use of these kinds of animations for doing more than just tinkering around in Unity and creating examples, but actually starting to animate something in a real scene for other stuff. So good luck out there, and I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Just toss a comment in there, and I'll try to help as best I can.